of Giro d'Italia's Queen stage going up Finestre. Stage 8 will also quickly recap the prior 2 stages where there were no real changes in the GC. We had today, going up the Finestre, huge stage. Anna van der Breggen defending a 1 minute lead, which can easily be lost on that climb. And we'll get into the parkour. Well, there's 2 different parkour we have to get into in a second. In the previous 2 stages, on stage 6, we had another Elisa Balsamo victory. She's collected 4 Dubskis this Giro d'Italia Donna. Last year, in the entirety of 2025, she won, I think, about 5 races. So she's going to be pretty happy with that return. Then there was no changes, I don't think. The subsequent stage, stage 7, we had like a medium mountain stage where I was thinking a Justine Hekira would sneak away. That didn't exactly happen, but it wasn't a sprint for once, which was a nice change. We had a crash from Anna van der Breggen and Marlon Reusser. There was a big crash too, and van der Breggen was like, I think, quite hurt. But there was a bridge across on the descent, like off this little like medium mountain descent to the breakaway, which hadn't been caught, I don't think. And then Cilia Géry, who's a young French superstar, bridged across with Persico. Then her teammate, Elisa Longoborghini, who's still in the GC here, went across with Brand. Then Persico basically pulled full for Elisa Longoborghini's GC. They didn't go for the stage. And Cilia Géry just sat on, said thank you very much, and dusted everybody in the sprint. Only Lucinda Brand could stay within a bike length. Shout out to Chantal Pigolo, who did come 3rd in the stage. She was in the early mornings break with Alison Jackson and Gaia Segato. But ELB only took 5 seconds on the bunch. So there were no changes in GC there either. Today, Benji, what did we have in store?
Well, on paper, we'd have basically the exact same stage we've seen in both the Giro d'Italia last year with stage 20 of the men's race, but also in the Tour de l'Avenir. I think we have Finestre before. I'm not sure Sestriere was in that parkour before then. But regardless, we would have a flat run-in. It's not the longest stage in the world, but a flat run-in to the foot of Colle del Finestre, which is a monster climb, is how I'd classify it. Usually 17k, maybe roughly 18k at 8+%. So very hard climb. Second half of it is gravel, which makes it even harder. And then afterwards we have the downhill into a plateau segment into the final climb, which is Sestriere climb, which is easier. But we'll get to that in a second, because we had a breakaway up the road, Patrick, that included Eva van Acht and Cilia Géry once again. So 2 potential satellite riders for FDJ Suez. But I want to talk about what happened basically once we hit the foot of the climb, because I started hearing rumors, whether it's on TV, whether it's on Twitter or social media, that there were some issues roughly a kilometer from the top, or in the last kilometer to the top, where the first things I heard was there was an avalanche at the top of the climb, which that sounds a bit very bad, if I gotta be honest. Like, why are we still riding? Was my first reaction to that.
Full transparency. Yeah. I was watching on my phone. I'd timed it perfectly. I was going to watch the last 7Ks in front of the TV and then Sestriere. And then I just start panicking. At first, Benji's going to be pissed that I'm not going to be right there live to do the pod straight afterwards. He's going to be on my case. And then I was like, what's going on? And then I'm like texting, like, what? I saw the same notification and I was like, what? An ice sheath is going to fall on the course. This happened in... What happened in 2019 Tour de France? That was a landslide more than ice.
That was a landslide that happened maybe in the descent of the Col d'Iseran, I think, where we already had GC attacks on that climb, and then maybe Rigoberto Urán was angry ahead of the race against the motorbike because it was like, landslides? I was molded by landslide. I can ride through them.
It was really impassable. Like, that landslide was moving like heavy machinery was getting moved by the landslide. It was impassable.
But Urán was so angry that day. I vividly remember him shouting at the camera. But regardless of that, in this specific stage, we only got to hear that at the foot of the climb. And it wasn't even the ice sheet. Initially, I heard there was an avalanche at the top. I was like, that sounds pretty bad. But the more we went into the broadcast, because the broadcast started pretty late on Eurosport UK, maybe like 5 minutes after the climb already began of Finestre, which I'd rather see the whole climb of Finestre, if I'm being honest, on TV. And at this point, the peloton was already down to maybe 25, 20 riders, and the break was getting caught. So Silageri from that breakaway started pacing in that peloton, whatever's left of it, for Vollering to try and make the climb hard. They still had Lauren Dixon as well, but
Yeah, Dixon
the
had
further
started.
the further we got onto the climb, the more we heard about the drama happening at the top. And I'll be completely honest, I still don't know 100% what actually happened, but the announcement that was given about 7K from the original top was that due to an ice sheet that could potentially fall onto the road, it's going to be the race is going to be stopped 1K before the top of Finestre, which means we don't have the last K of Finestre, we don't have the descent afterwards, the valley, and we don't have the final climb to Sestriere. Now, to be clear, if it's dangerous, 100% okay to make that decision. I wasn't there. I have no clue how to judge ice sheets and avalanches and potential avalanche dangers. So I'm going to take their word for it that it was the right decision to make. But from a rider's perspective, Dima Voting better get some move on in the last 7K of this Finestre now.
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing, right? How does this change? I mean, let's not think in what actually happened. How does this change the race situation at that moment? So, if you drop someone, if you drop a diminutive climber, which Van der Breggen really isn't, so it's not the best case, but Van der Breggen's got a minute lead, no teammates, nowhere near her, no Lauren Dixon 30 seconds behind. She's alone.
Yeah.
Whole climb, whole finish. Sestra is a fast descent, then you got a value, like a plateau road, false side uphill, then it gets like 6K, 6%. In theory, you could drop if you dropped a Holmgren, if she was on a gap and you kept riding woman v woman on that road to Sestriere, you can take a 10-second gap out to a big gap. And I think this change made it so simple for Van der Breggen. She's just like, I just choo full gas to the top and I do a TT. I will lose no time. I might get counterpunched at the top. So what? She doesn't have to think about anything. Whereas Sestriere, the descent, I don't think FDJ were going to let Dixon come back and play the numbers. No. They sacrificed that opportunity previous stages. I think and we'll get into that in a second, but I think this made it very straightforward for Van der Breggen.
I think so as well. I do want to judge afterwards whether I do think a change could have happened in the results if the stage played out as planned. But before we get there, though, like we said, Lauren Dixon was taking over, was hard pacing up to the point where that decision was made. And I think with about 7 kilometers to go to the actual finish now, we had Dixon bringing the group down to Vollering, Anne van der Breggen, Holmgren, Niedermayer, De Vries, and Nie Fischer-Black before she dipped out. So that's the situation here. 6 riders up the road. Royster's dropped from early on the climb, so she's in Narnia. She also crashed yesterday, so that's relatively understandable. But I feel like the first attack came from Demi Voting, where I saw her attacking, and then Niedermayer, who was riding basically at the front at this point, she easily half-wheeled Voting during Vollering's attack. This was shocking to see. I feel like we noticed something similar 3 days ago in the previous GC stage, where Niedermayer looks always like she's nose breathing. I do think it's partially a poker face. I think she doesn't show when she's suffering as much, so he will suddenly go from poker face to being on a gap.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I did see her on a gap on that climb when I rewatched it. There was a moment she was on a gap when Dixon was launching it 3 days ago. So, incredible poker face on Niedermayer. Her and Holmgren are the young stars in this race right now, and they're performing really, really well. Particularly Holmgren's very, very young. We've seen the pink jersey have problems on the Finestre today. Didn't Anne van der Breggen show the men last year exactly what Del Toro should have done?
As in,
drafting doesn't matter. Just if you don't want to get attacked, just ride your tempo to the top.
Yeah, it's basically what she did in the last 4 kilometers, I'd say, because after that first Vollering move, then the second Vollering move was trying again, but Vollering wasn't putting much damage in. The only rider that got in trouble with Vollering's attack was, I think, Holmgren, who then...
she dangled a bit, but she came back.
She came back and then she attacked him, and then that's when Demi looked in trouble. She was in 4th position on a gap and looked grimacing, trying to close it down. So I think we're in the situation where that's actually the moment, Patrick. That moment right there, where Demi Vollering was on a gap, after that Holmgren move, after Holmgren got dropped earlier, that's when Anna van der Breggen switched from following to starting to pace.
Yeah.
Do you feel like there's a way in which her team car noticed Vollering's in trouble? You won't be able to get countered if you just set a controlling tempo to the top? I think that's a feasible
Maybe it's
thought
from the
process
car,
here.
but it is also the default way of Van der Breggen approaching these situations too. She is the team car. She literally was the team car 2 years ago. So
Was that a good thing though?
It's I maybe we skipped ahead too much, but I have to say it was a strange Finestre. It was really strange. I mean, Marion Roos was speaking this week about now there's no climb too hard for the women, which I've always found a strange discussion. Like there never probably was a climb too hard for the women. They just didn't put them in the races. We've seen now in Angleroo and Finestre 2 brutal climbs which I would have said, you know, these are going to be massive gaps, and literally 4 riders riding just at threshold exactly with each other all the way to the top. And the best riders in men's Finestre, I don't know the history, but the recent editions I've seen, that's not been the case.
That said, in Angleroo, we did have this mano a mano fight. I'm pretty sure mano a mano doesn't mean man versus man; it means person versus person, right? So I assume I can say this.
It's mano in Spanish, so hand to hand.
Okay. So this mano a mano fight we saw in Angleroo between the riders, where there you had a feeling like, oh, riders dropping, riders coming back. You always had one rider that had the upper hand at any point during the climb, where Angleroo was a far better stage for me. Today, Finestre, I won't lie, I said 3 days ago that 3 days ago the stage was fantastic. Yeah. Better than any entertainment I had in the men's Giro every single day.
Yeah, so
today's Finestre was boring to me.
It was a bit of a deflating balloon. It was, and
I don't care about, can I be honest? I don't even care that it stopped 1K before the top.
I don't think it would have changed anything.
Honestly. They're so close together on the climb that I also don't believe they would have made a difference in the flat section, the descent. Maybe Holmgren has trouble in the descent, but
I think technically she's all right.
While Holmgren's performance is out of this world, etc., in terms of like the level you expect from that age, she's a super talent for the future. She's not the person I'm looking at in this race because I'm focused on, okay, is Vollering going to put a minute into Anna van der Breggen? Is Niedermayer going to win the stage?
Just
which would be a fantastic performance. Yeah. So I never really saw the ability of anyone here because Vollering attacked multiple times before we got to the last kilometer of this eventual finish where she didn't look like she could drop anyone. And if you can't do that during the climb, maybe you can do it at the finish here then, but that doesn't change anything for me for the rest of the stage. I think Van der Breggen stays in the Maglia Rosa regardless of how the stage is written out.
It seems very unlikely that Vollering wouldn't get an inch on the Finestre and she would drop Van der Breggen on the Sestriere, and Van der Breggen's also not like a 45 kilo climber. She also has absolute power. So
I do think we need to talk about the last kilometer now. They go into the last K all together.
Did we mention that like Reusser and ELB had dropped?
Yeah, Reusser is in Narnia, ELB is in Narnia.
Reusser just did her pace. She was literally doing like, she just stayed on like 45 seconds the whole time. ELB really lost a lot of time.
But going into the last kilometer, all 4 are together, and we've got this hairpin into basically the sprint towards the made-up finish line. I'm always curious because I don't know what it's like being a rider, 7K from the top of Finestre, hearing that the finish is now 1K before the top of Finestre, and then having to figure out, okay, where's the actual finish line? When do I need to start my sprint? Because there's so many hairpins on Finestre that you only see your finish line at a certain point. But clearly Vollering and the rest of that group clearly knew when the finish was coming because they all started trying to dive bomb each other into the final corner. Vollering did so perfectly. Niedermayer in second position, and Vollering dusted them, to be clear, going for the finish line. She looked completely done after the finish though, and Van der Breggen as well was struggling in that last sprint and lost a bit of time by the finish line to Vollering. But to me, Vollering winning the stage, first of all, nice to see, but the fact that she dropped people in the last sprint here doesn't shout to me, or she could have dropped Van der Breggen and the rest for the whole stage.
No. Van der Breggen paced herself.
She was also done.
Yeah, Van der Breggen was pacing everyone for like 12, 15 minutes before that. I know it's
Yeah.
9%, but still it matters. And yeah, I don't think that. I mean, they put Van der Breggen on the same time anyway. So bring back time gaps, I say.
If anything, if the stage finish is not 1K before the top, I think the difference in how it plays out is that I'm not sure Anna van der Breggen does that pacing tempo until the stage is so-called wrapped up. Because you have
the whole
often
thing
in
back.
these situations also, but in these kind of situations, you sometimes have the tempo completely dropping for a bit, which Van der Breggen wouldn't have minded.
Well, yeah, I mean, she can let. Cavalier was on 220. I don't think Cavalier would ever come back because also on the descent, what would happen would be the only alternative to Demi winning, and I think Demi still wins in Sestriere with no gaps.
Yeah. It's Holgren?
Is Dixon coming back and winning?
Okay, yeah.
Dixon was like, I'm looking for who would be the first team to have 2 riders, and it would have been FDJ, especially if you stop in that valley in Sestriere, which this is what we saw in the men's race last year. Groups come back from minutes, and although Dixon on the descent, we saw her, Cavalier, and Bunel, and Gontova not doing the best the other day. But Dixon, I think, and this is what I want to discuss now. By the way, yeah. So Vollering wins stage ahead of Holmgren, Niedermeyer, Van der Breggen, all same time. I would not have expected that to happen on the Finestre. De Vries 5th on 55 seconds. Royce just behind on 57 seconds. Dixon, who paced a lot, on 110. ELB 139. Nee Fisher Black 146. Cavalier 10th 218. I only have the top 10 for you. GC wise, Van der Breggen defends her lead, but she's losing a few bonies. Vollering is 50 seconds behind her now. Niedermeyer 120. She has a 35-second lead ahead of Holmgren. Holmgren's still in the white jersey. And Royce defends 5th. She's on 3 minutes. De Vries moves into 6th on 3:33. ELB drops to 7th, 3:46. Fisher Black to 8th, 4:19. Zigart 5:51. De Schepper 5:59. Both on AG Insurance. Can we... I cannot sit here and criticize FDJ for not doing a 2-liter strategy with Lauren Dixon with them, because I also sat in the FDJ United Suez preview last year and said, you got the best rider in the world, Demi Vollering, just treat her like Pogacar, set her up to do the business. So unless they knew she was not on her best level.
Yeah, but it's also, there's a bit of a difference between a super domestique and a leader in the sense that when you're a super domestique, you know your finish line on the mountain as well. So there's that element added to it. If you have Demi Vollering in your team, especially with the level we've seen of her in the first half of this season, then I'm sorry, but I don't believe you do a multi-leader strategy. You just go for it. And let's be honest about it, they have basically won both mountain stages. They just haven't been able to, of course, win the time trial. I'm saying the mountain road stages they've won. The time trial is where the hit was taken, and that's on a personal level with Vollering. But if you then look at, for example, tomorrow's stage, I do want to mention that first before we dive into the discussions maybe, is about 145 kilometers, has medium mountains in it, a proper mountain in the first half, the Montoso climb, 8.7K at 9.5%, but it's 100K before the finish. And the climbs that come afterwards are easier. There's one more decent climb with about 45-ish K to go, the Colletta di Brondello, which is 5K at 7.4%. But, like, if you're FDJ and you want to try and win the race, you'd say, oh, blow up the first climb in the first half of the stage.
You have to.
Extremely far from the finish. I think they need to do it. But based on what I've seen this week, I don't believe Anna van der Breggen will lose from that situation.
Yeah, I mean, Demi's got to try to drop it. I agree with you. I mean, you can't wait. The 5K 7.5% climb, you can't wait for that, right?
Yeah.
To take the gap that you need, 50 seconds. I think FDJ got to launch it with Giri and Dixon on the Montoso tomorrow. And
yeah,
I mean, if you drop Van der Breggen, who's going to help Van der Breggen?
Yeah, but it's also 40K into the stage. Can you even get a satellite rider towards the climb to have them over the top? I don't think so.
I agree. No, you can't.
If your SD works, you have to make sure no break with FDJ Suez rider to go before that climb starts.
Exactly. And then, yeah, FDJ got to do it. Have Cavalier try to get Cavalier over the top
Yeah.
as close as possible. Not that she'll be that helpful in the valleys, but still have a teammate. 42 Ks. How are you going to get a... Jerry would have to go immediately and then get a 3.5 minute gap.
It's just not happening. It's just not happening.
Same with the Finestre stage today. Like, how was a breakaway going to get the 8 minutes it needed?
Is there a world in which you can do a micro satellite rider? Hear me out. So
like
we get to the climb.
Like someone my size, you mean?
Well, that's pico satellite rider is what you are. But once we get to the foot of the climb, how many SD Works riders are going to get into the last 10 riders of the GC group?
Like, who's going to be amongst the best 10 of climbers?
Yeah. Only Cavalier if possible.
Only Cavalier, and maybe she's like, she's not the best 5 either.
I don't think this is going to work. I'm going into like some galaxy brain strategy that's never going to work in reality. But we've seen a few times in the sport of cycling across the years, maybe that halfway climber rider, like a Dixon, hypothetically would attack from a 15 rider leftover group, and then their GC rider could attack towards them and try and create a micro satellite rider situation. In reality, I don't see it playing out because I don't believe Voting can get separation of Van der Breggen.
You mean
that's the issue for me?
Like Yates Pladade.
Was it Yates?
Yates
UAE
on Pladade in 24 attacked from the GC group ahead, and then Pog attacked to him.
And was Soler in the break already at that point?
I don't know about that.
I swear there was a Soler similar one at some point. Maybe Berthe?
Soler was definitely Soler was a satellite in 23 on the Alsace.
What do you call that climb? The Mont Blanc stage.
Mont Blanc.
The 2024 Tour de France third week stage that Pogacar finished third on because the brake wasn't caught, and they controlled it the entire day for bonus seconds.
In 24?
I don't know which year, to be honest. 23, 24. Anyway, it's probably not related to this conversation.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to do that at SD Works. I think they're going to keep Cavalier together. I think they, like you say, they have to use their rouleurs to ensure the break. So they got to use Cecchini, Herza, and Guarici to control on the flat. Have to. And make sure that there's no, because if you have Giri or Van Aert or Krak over the top, and Vollering gets a small gap, Anna has a big problem, and then she can lose GC. So hopefully we have fireworks tomorrow. Do we know if it's going to be televised, that climb? That is what I'm now concerned about.
Betex 2023. I'm trying to find it.
You mean the Stage Wild Pools one?
Mate, I genuinely don't know anymore.
I think that was Stage 15 2023. Wild Pools maybe won. Soler and Van Aert
Mont Blanc he won, but I don't remember the Soler one at all, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, he was in the break there. I'm concerned we won't have the coverage. Let me see I'm trying to see when it's scheduled. Starts at 12:15, and the stage starts. Sort of doing live for everybody. The stage starts at 13:25, so coverage starts. Nah, that's a replay. We're not going to see the climb. Coverage starts at 3:15. Stage starts 1:25. It's 2 hours. I could have told
you that.
No,
I didn't even see the start of Finestre, bro.
Yeah, I was just hoping maybe they.
No, dude, there's no way I would have seen that climb.
Who can I pay like a transfer fee or something? How can I pay some form of money? We all will. Everyone listening will pay it a fee to transfer coverage at the start, full coverage of some Giro stage. San Remo first 200 Ks. Can we get a credit for 60 Ks, 60K credits, and apply that to the Dauphiné stage 1 tomorrow, and to the Dauphiné final weekend stage where they do the Col du Pré and break formation? I want to apply my credits and get the coverage there.
But what if I apply different credits than you apply credits?
It's a meritocracy. So it's everyone listening. we form like some sort of we're going to form. So you know how we got the AIGCP, we got the UCI, we got the AIOCC, the organizers, we have the CPA. You and I, Benji, we're going to form a union of cycling.
What's it called?
The cycling degenerates. It's going to be called the CDGA. And
CDGA
or CDGT.
CGA is better.
Okay, CGA. It's not a sponsor of Decathlon.
CDGA.
Yeah, CDGA.
CDA.
The CDA, the CDAs. And we are going to form a union, and we are going to try to get coverage of good parts of racing.
Sure. Let's organize a CDA.
I reckon we should do it. Everyone will do it.
I think the abbreviation might be taken, though.
Of CDA, yeah. We will aerodynamically approach how we're going to... Please, I just want to see Col du Pré break formation. That's all I'm asking.
But looking at this race so far, I'm also not feeling the kind of thought process of, Demi Vollering can't drop Van der Breggen, Holmgren, and Niedermayer. I'm worried about the Tour de France Femme.
Ooh, I don't know.
It's 2 months away.
I disagree.
You're worried about the Tour de France Femme. She was so good at the Hill Classics.
Demi should be smoking Isabella Holmgren on the Finestre. I'm sorry.
She was smoking everybody a month and a half ago at the Hill Classics.
Yeah, but that's the Hill Classics. The Tour de France is won on the Ventoux. It's won on a 1 hour, 8%, 8.5% climb. Yes, Demi's been dominant in the Ardennes. That has been the case for years.
No. Last year she wasn't.
Really?
Yeah. That was the whole problem last year, right?
Oh, yeah. I don't know. Like, maybe Van der Breggen's improved now in her second year out of retirement, but I just felt like on Lagunas de Naya, she dispensed with riders easily in the Vuelta last year and on Cotabello. But, mate, I just think Demi's long climbing is not that good.
It's not... What we've seen this year is not Tourmalet level of...
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Climbing.
I've not seen that for like 2.5 years.
Yeah, we have not seen the best 1 hour climbs of Vollering. Well, long climbing, not just 1 hour climbing. Long climbing efforts since 2023, right?
Yeah. Tourmalet 23, she was unbelievable. Like, she put 2 minutes into second. She was so strong. And she put that 2 minutes in like 6Ks. We just haven't seen that for a bit.
To me, in stage 5, if Vollering is there in Hill Classics level, I'd expect her to drop her on everybody on stage 5. Those are not the longest climbs in the world.
Nah, I think you're underrating those climbs. Pretty long. 30 minutes.
4 or 5K.
Nah. 8K 7%, 8K 8%. Yeah, the last two are 5K.
Yeah, the last two. Those are the ones, eh?
But then it's like proper fatigue. I'm just saying, I've not seen... Like, if PFP turns up and does the Madeleine performance again on Ventoux...
Yeah.
Yeah, but the narrative... I
haven't seen that from her this year either.
The narrative to me was Demi had the crash that affected her on Alpe d'Huez when Nibali Doma won, right? And then last year she had another crash. Yeah? Was she doing the lead out?
Yes, correct.
I was mentally giving her like credits. Or I was mentally giving her the benefit of the doubt.
That's where you spent your Dauphiné credits.
Exactly. I was saying the Tourmalet, she had the Tourmalet in the legs, but she had the crashes. But as we keep seeing these climbing performances here, it's like, I'm saying it's more of a leap of faith that she will just obliterate everyone on the Ventoux this year.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm not saying that either. I'm just expecting her to be at a better level than what I've seen in this Giro d'Italia because it's 2 months away.
True. Yeah, she should be...
It'd be problematic if she was shredding everybody at this point.
Yeah. I think we're in for a good Tour de France fam, just quietly. I think Van der Breggen, that is... Right, this race isn't over. I hope Demi goes crazy on the long Cat 1 tomorrow. We have a big race, but Van der Breggen, there's a TT in the Tour de France, Benji, and Van der Breggen looks like the best TT rider of the GC riders by far. And then when she has a TT gap and she can just go diesel mode on the climbs and defend.
How do we differentiate a mountain time trial in this race versus a rolling terrain time trial at the Tour de France.
She will still cook on the rolling TT. She will cook.
I expect her to do really well there, but
Okay,
what was it last year again at Worlds?
Compared to PFP, she could take big time.
Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah. When
last year in the rolling Worlds terrain, the gap was, 13 seconds between Van der Breggen and Vollering and Kigali in the time trial?
Yeah, but now she's better. She's better.
Yeah, but I also hope that Vollering is better than the level she was at the World Championship of ITT last year.
Nah, I think Van der Breggen's step up from 25 to 26 is like a step change. Maybe I'm overrating just the one TT performance this Giro.
Thing is also, this Anna van der Breggen also got shredded on Angliru a month ago.
2-3 weeks ago even.
So it's not a step up from this year to last year. It's from last month.
True. Is Paula Blassi winning the Tour de France? Is that what you're saying to me?
Well, that's what I'm saying, Patrick. Talking about youngsters, to be honest, like this is the year where Blassi's moving up, Hormgren's moving up into the ranking. Niedermayer she already was on the radar, Niedermayer, because she was maybe riding with Annemiek van Vleuten at the Giro Donna 2 years ago, fighting for a potential stage and maybe winning a stage, if I recall. Maybe 3 years ago even. So she's been on the block longer, but we are seeing a changing of the guards in the second row at least, and maybe in the fight for the podium, because I wouldn't write off Paula Blassi for a podium at the Tour de France.
No, me either. She just got the raw power. And that's why I'm really excited for it. Like you rattled through all those names. I think we have a really open race compared to the men's, where like you could pick a name from 5 riders and you can make a legitimate, realistic case they could win the Tour de France.
Controversial take. I need Pauline Ferrand-Prévot to ride more races on the road.
Yeah.
What I've seen so far this season of her has not been a level that I was hoping to see. Paris-Roubaix was great, but she was aiming for LBL and the Vuelta wasn't great either. I need more data. Don't do what men's cycling does and reduce your calendar to 15 race days a year. I want to see more cycling of you.
It works.
I don't care if it works. I want to see you on TV.
Yeah, but I know what you mean. But if your goal is winning the Tour de France, I guess it's hard to change the winning formula of last year.
Yeah, but the goal was also to win LBL, you know?
And that did not happen, not close.
So not every one of those moments where she hardcore tries to peak for something works perfectly. And I don't like it when we have no clue where our rider is in terms of their preparation and their level going into a race. Because it's very difficult to do a Tour de France preview, Patrick, and sit here.
The Remco, how you will get it there, the Remco Evenepoel.
Yeah, that's the same story.
I agree. It's like we can only do the assessment after we see the team's presentation.
Yeah, it's actually like what
are they lining up? Are they like, is Remco in the Dauphiné? Is Pauline, is she doing the tour? Because you're like, it's the ultra preparation. It's like Olympic style preparation. It's not even, you mentioned like the men's. It's not even like the men's. The men still do the Dauphiné, Pogačar and Vingegaard last year. Ferrand-Prévot's kind of brought the Olympic style mountain bike preparation where you do like a full 3 months, and it worked last year. But to your point, imagine she was in this Giro in like maybe 90% of Tour de France level, which is what we're saying Vollering and co are at. Then you have another battle.
I think she'd still lose time on the Mythical time trial for sure.
Yeah.
She'd get shredded by Van der Breggen there.
That Van der Breggen TT was really, really good. It was really good. But that's why I think they should make it a war tomorrow, FDJ.
How much of that was Anna van der Breggen on the bike being really good, which is 100% the fact, and the differentiation of how riders approach that? Because if I recall, Vollering was on a TT bike, but then wasn't in her TT. I lost the word, English word for not the drops, but the TT.
Extensions.
English word. Extensions, yes. Every now and then you have to like refresh my English memory.
That's
but
right.
Vollering wasn't in her extension the entire climb, for example, while Van der Breggen did the entire climb in her extensions, you know?
I think they didn't go that fast on Finestre today, by the way.
That doesn't exactly shock me, if I'm being honest.
I don't think they broke the. I was expecting them to break the record big time. I don't think they broke the record.
On break the record if you don't do the last kilometer.
Oh wow, I'm so stupid. Holy fuck, Benji. I was checking the Strava QOMs and I was like, I can't see anyone from today. They must have gone so slow. They didn't complete the segment. Oh my god. That's so embarrassing.
This man's brain is cheese.
The ice sheet has just completely cooked my ability to understand this stage. Okay.
Talking about the ability to understand things, shall we talk about little track changes today or tomorrow?
We're going to do a weekly show on... why don't we do a weekly on Monday? Don't we have a MISC? I feel like we got to do a transfers wrap up. We've got to do Dauphiné like preview, although it kind of starts tomorrow, which is inconvenient.
We can drop it on stage 5 of the Dauphiné. Doesn't matter that it's a Thursday? Is that too late?
We have to do a full weekly. There's been so many transfer rumors. There's been like Grisha Neiman leaving to Little Trek that announced the day after Visma won the Giro. We've got, there's just like a manager carousel. It's shit hit the fan in the last week in the news cycle, I would say.
Yes,
my Monday holiday in Rome was
working.
A little bit different to what I had planned.
My Lego Monastery arrived, so I've been building.
I know, that looks awesome. Alrighty.
It's way bigger than I planned. Way bigger. Yeah, it's that shelf on the right of me for the people that are listening on the podcast. I've got a sideboard with like my Lego stuff on it, my Lego Lord of the Rings collection. It won't fit. And I mean, in terms of depth, it won't fit. That's a problem.
No, Hobbs won. Galen was groot gespeeld today.
Nice try.
Is that how you say it? I just wanted to practice.
De Galen was goed gespeeld.
Okay, and Stefan Kirchhofer won La Classique des Alpes Juniors. You know who won that 2 years ago? A man who is the joint second favorite for the Tour de France this year. So things happen fast in cycling. I'm not saying Seth will be that, but that's just to let you know. Why do you bring up these junior races? Why do you bring them? Okay, well, 2 years ago, the guy that won it is Seixas.
That said, I heard a lot more about the juniors that were fighting for the victory that year than last year. For example, you've got the Grenke Otto Eder team that is basically connected to the Red Bull Bora team as like their juniors. But Friedel and Blanc, for example, less hype than I heard publicly than Sixas and Perikas in 2024.
Yeah, I think it's pretty unlikely Anatole Friedel will be second favorite for the Tour next year. Which would be the same time frame. And you're right, that generation of, was it Vidar, Olmazel, Seixas? That was a stacked climbing generation. Not every cohort is like that. All right, thanks for listening as always. We'll be back tomorrow with a Dauphiné and Giro Donna recap, whichever one finishes later. It'll be live streamed after that. Until then, ciao, ciao.